Get out of here. Fucking bird. What are you even doing here? It's January.
Where Bobby Millett and his orchestra are offering a program of dance music.
Alright, whatever. We'll ignore him for a bit. So we have had a pretty busy morning here in the garage. Obviously been putting in time on the engine. Lloyd brought his Malibu over. If you haven't seen those videos, the guy down the street a little bit has a 78 Malibu that we've done a little bit of work to, just making it a little bit more of a hot rod, just real basic stuff, double hump heads. He went with a thumper cam, which I disagree with. Pretty fun little hot rod. If you haven't seen those videos, go back, check them out. They're all right. So yeah, he was here putting on some chrome accessories and like that AutoZone fake AN line stuff to cover hoses, which, I mean, if that's what you're into, man, whatever. He's a cool guy, so I don't want to dog him too much. Anyway, we got the head bolts in for the heads, got them torqued down, got the rocker studs in. Obviously, we had to get some push rod guides so everything stays lined up. We're looking really good there. Got the intake torqued down. Everything's looking real good. Obviously got all the front accessories on. So there's a few other little things here and there, but the main thing left to do is going to be the exciting part, which is why I turned the camera on. We're finally getting started on the fuel injection. It's only been sitting around for about a month waiting on things. Nailed it. So a few videos ago I went over kind of everything that's in here, but I'll do that again real quick. Obviously we got the throttle body. I think it flows like 950 or 1050 CFM, right around 1,000. Plenty for our setup. This is good for 500 horsepower is what it says. That's why I'm assuming that's why it's called MAX-efi 500. This is just the Summit version. I'm pretty sure it's kind of just a Phi-Tech knockoff, because I did notice that the, whoops, get back here, that the throttle position sensor is a Phi-Tech sensor, and the screen here looks identical to the one I saw a guy using for his Phi-Tech unit. So it could be a Phi-Tech knockoff, but I mean, as long as it works, I don't give a shit about that. Here's the ECU, and then obviously some fuel line that we'll need. This is a spacer. This isn't required, but it definitely helps. If you're using a dual plane intake, you might want to consider one of these. I've heard that some of these throttle body EFI units don't like dual plane, so that might help out instead of completely switching to a single plane, but you know, what do I know? Let's see what else. We got the oxygen sensor. That's very important. Here is the little bung that you'll put in your exhaust so that you can mount that, and here's some hose clamps if you want to do that way. I'll probably weld that in once I make an exhaust system for it. Here is the complete harness. Everything's nice and labeled, like that one. Can't read it, but it says fuel pump. And then this, I believe, is the wiring to the screen there. Oh, and the coolant temp sensor. So it knows how hot it is once it's up to temp. And a full manual of instructions that I am going to read, because I'm not one of those foolish, egotistical guys that's like, we don't need those fucking instructions. No, read the instructions. It helps. So this isn't gonna be really like a how-to. This is more of a how I did it. I'm just gonna start throwing it together and see how retarded I am. It should be super simple. Everything's labeled, everything's color-coded. Let's start putting it together. We'll start with, obviously, mounting the throttle body itself, get the sensors in place, the ones we can't do the oxygen sensor yet because, like I said, there's no exhaust system on it. Open headers, and start running the harness. If you did have a full exhaust system and everything, theoretically you could get this all installed and running in one day. The main thing we're fighting right now is we need some fittings to go to the fuel pressure regulator. He's actually taking off right now to go find some while I get started on this. So all that's left to do now is to actually do it. So let's do it. Not that kind of do it. Get your head out of the gutter. All right, throttle body, check. Next up, we'll do the coolant temp sensor, and we're probably gonna need this spacer. I should put some sort of thread sealant on that, but there was so much gummed up on there that I'm gonna call that good. And this already has some on it. All right, I'll go back and tighten that up in a second. Ooh, I might be an idiot. I need to put the throttle cable bracket on here still. Nah, I can do that in a bit. Let's see, probably get started on the wiring harness. Now we're good. At least it's all labeled. I'm sure I can still screw it up though. Alright, so that goes to the ECU, pretty sure, I would assume. These, I think, are the plugs that go to the little screen. That is a relay. This looks like everything that goes to the throttle body, injectors. There's the coolant temp sensor. There's the IAC, more injectors, TPS. So this whole harness is what's going to be on top of the engine invisible. We'll get that plugged in a second. And then this is the oxygen sensor. It has like a high temp sheathing. What else is here? This is the signal for the tach so that the ECU knows where the engine's at, what RPM. This is electric fans. No, that's battery. I should have known. Should have known. Fuel pump key. Where did the fan one go? There it is. There's the fan wire. And then there's ground. So yeah, this can control pretty much everything you'll need it to. Fuel pump, electric fan, which we do have. So since we already have the hole in the firewall, right there. We'll probably just use that to route the ECU and stuff into the truck. But you can mount it out here in the engine bay. Just says not to put it directly above heat like the headers and stuff. I don't know, we'll worry about that in a second. Let's get started with actually like plugging shit in and starting to tackle this mess. Now the way I've got it routed right now is to the back of the engine. Right here is the wire for the tach input signal. So you'll want that pretty much in that area. And then I've got it running over here under the coolant tank. And then right here's, I'm probably gonna make something to mount the ECU right over here. Just because it's nice out of the way and you can keep an eye on it. And then we've got the wire going to the battery positive right here. Tucked in there. The oxygen sensor wire we can run right down the frame rail there. We got the ground right over here to the firewall where there is a ground bolt. And then pretty much aside from that, there's these three other ones. One is for the fan, so we'll be able to run that around and over. The other one is for the fuel pump, which we might use. I'm not sure. We already have the fuel pump hot wired to the key. We might use it though, just since this will be able to kind of clean it up. And then this is keyed power. So those are the only things that you're gonna have to like really work for, I guess you could say. Everything else really cleans itself up. I wish that there was a little bit more room on the wiring for the throttle body here, because some of them are like pulling themselves tighter than I would like. I think it'll work just fine, but man, it is a whole lot tighter than I think it should be. We are getting super close. I'm going to probably try to order like some sort of exhaust kit tonight so that I can get started on the exhaust sometime this week. And then once we have that, we should be able to try to fire it up. And I'm excited to hear this thing run. This cam, these heads, the self-learning EFI, this thing's gonna be pretty fun. If it's not, I'll be very disappointed. Find anything good?
Yeah.
That doesn't look like a promising face.
See if this one screws in the side and this one in the bottom.
All right.
In 3 frickin' pieces. $21.
Jesus.
Yeah. Took forever trying to find them.
They don't fit.
They don't fit.
It's a touch sloppy, but I think that's just because this is pipe thread.
I swear the damn thing is metric.
It's AN, American Navy, or Army Navy, I mean. Alright, he's modifying a bracket for the throttle cable, and I'm sure it's going to be perfect. And then I'm going to get started on making a little mount for the ECU, and the plan is just to mount it inside the fender right here. Cover up that unnecessary hole. So I'm just going to start with some sort of template out of cardboard, figure out what I want to do with it, and then we'll transfer that to a pile of sheet metal over there, and it's going to be sweet. Get a little carried away with what I'm doing. This is completely unnecessary. I could have just screwed the ECU directly to the fender, but now I've got this nice polished little mounting tray for it. So sometimes it's nice to kind of take pride in something you're doing. So actually, I haven't polished something in quite a while, but that's probably going to be the last thing we do tonight. Is I'm just going to mount this and then get the ECU screwed down. And then that's probably going to be it tonight, because it is almost 8 o'clock, I think. We've honestly gotten a lot done, considering this morning it was just a short block. Well, no, because we got the heads on yesterday. I just haven't been filming some of the more monotonous stuff that you guys have seen me do, or us do, over and over and over again, such as like the heads and the intake and stuff like that. But this thing has come a long way in just a couple days. So, man, I can't wait. I cannot wait to get this thing on the road. So that's how the ECU is going to sit, just like that. I am exhausted. I'm tired. I'm hungry. I'm going to get home, see my wife and kid. But huge progress on the truck today. The engine is all together. There's a few more things to do. Fuel line fittings, get the exhaust done, and then we should be able to actually hear this thing fire up. I cannot wait. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thank you for liking, commenting, and subscribing. We'll see you next time.